We should be good to go. We have ChucklyFun versus Chykka. Gonna take a wild guess on the pronunciation of that name. Looks like first round is going to be... Who's this? Chun-Li versus Ken. Cool. Let me put that up on the side of the screen for you. Not that you can't see the characters, but hey, I've got this fancy layout. May as well use it, right? Based on that starting hand draw, it looks like Chun-Li will be going first. This will be interesting. So this is our dedicated... Oh, that is an unshuffled deck. Chun-Li is a dedicated keep-away zoner. Ken is a close to mid-range rushdown. There, I gotta turn that music down a bit. Alright. So, Chun-Li's primary goal is get to 3 gauge and exceed ASAP, because her ability becomes orders of magnitude stronger when she exceeds. Her normal ability only allows her to retreat 1 space after resolving a boost, which means after putting a boost into play and resolving any now effect. Her exceed ability has that, and on top of that, for every continuous boost she has in play, she has +0 to 1 range. Sorry if I'm a little bit flustered. Had to get set up in a hurry because I was running late. Ken's ability is kind of the inverse. As an action, he may close one and draw a card. This allows him to build resources as he retreats. Excuse me, as he closes in. Oof. You wouldn't think I'd be able to mix these two characters up, and yet. Alright. So for Chun-Li, exceeding is extremely valuable in almost every matchup. However, against Ken, it may not prove to be necessary or even all that useful, because his ability to close in and pressure at close range is so great, she may not be able to get much mileage out of her exceed mode. That said, if she can get any mileage out of it at all, it'll almost certainly be worth the flip. And even if it's not, building up the gauge as fast as possible is ideal for her, because at 4 gauge she can threaten Hozenka, at 5 gauge critical Hozenka, an attack that is very easy to confirm from anywhere near the center of the stage. Meanwhile, Ken has a much more situational exceed mode. He doesn't use it every matchup, but when he uses it a bit like Ryu's. It's simply situational. Allows him to close one, draw a card, and then he may strike. So it's a form of action compression, meaning if he finds himself in a better position to strike after that point, he can do so. It's not nearly as dramatic as Chun-Li's exceed mode. Ken will also want gauge. I mean, they are Street Fighter characters after all. Gauge is an extremely valuable commodity here. But for Ken, he mostly wants it for his critical effects, such as the +2 speed and axe kick, the before close 1 on Shoryuken, or to pay the gauge cost of his ultras, which are bluntly pretty fantastic. Alright, so Chun-Li opens with a power attack boost, that is +1 power with a hit effect. She chooses to use her ability to retreat 1. Ken plays the boost on cross run to advance 3. Chun-Li probably going to continue stepping away. However, this will only lead to her cornering herself against Ken, who's able to close in without spending resources, as we discussed a moment ago. In general, Ken is weakest against characters who are willing to initiate strikes into him. He much prefers to be on the offensive. Chun-Li, however, is a defensive character who prefers not to initiate strikes. So, as Kavoxel is saying, this may well be a natural counter. However, that's not to say that Chun-Li is without her tools. She has a variety of fantastic boosts, not the least of which is Faultless Focus, which allows her to strike with stun immunity and get an extra gauge by doing so. This boost in particular is an easy way to confirm Hozenka or critical Hozenka from anywhere on the board for a tidy 9 to 11 damage. Alright, she initiates with an EX attack. She plays Spinning Bird Kick and will outspeed Kin's Wild Swing Tatsumaki Senpukyaku. She is before Advance 3 and will move to range 2. She hits at range 2 for 7 power, and with her hit effect, she pushes or pulls 2 and also adds her boost to her gauge. That is an excellent opener because she has advantage, 2 gauge, and a lot of damage on board. The loss of Tatsu is not that big a deal for Kin. That's a very useful boost to have. The attack is only moderately threatening because it has no defenses, so it's not the worst thing to go to Wild Swing. She must push or pull 2. She chooses to push, that makes sense. She wants to maintain her spacing against Kin. She has more options at range than he does. And she does have a counter to Kendoken, which is relatively unusual. Kendoken is Kin's Hadoken. A critical Hadoken, although he cannot currently critical it because he doesn't have the gauge, is 6 power at speed 4. Chun-Li in particular can counter it with Kikosho, if she is so inclined, or even more safely with a critical Kikoken, so that she has 4 armor and 4 guard. Alright, she boosts Fierce, choosing whether or not to retreat. Both copies of Spinning Bird Kick are down, which means her only ranged option is Kikoken. Chooses not to retreat so that she can keep the mix-up threat live with Dive. And also Flipping Axe Kick. We have a True Master entering play, but it costs a Force. This definitely will give Kin stats to compete with Chun at range, especially if he has a Hadoken on deck. He tosses a Knee Bash, which is a great closing tool. Confident, perhaps, that he doesn't need it, or he simply values the rest of his hand that much. Tech comes out in answer to True Master. This is very standard play. That is a high value boost, and it's best to get rid of it as soon as possible. She chose not to retreat, again keeping the mix-up threat live. Alright, he boosts Light. Again, threatening speed. Chun-Li at range is not especially speed sensitive, but any value Kin can get, or any speed he can get will give him value on his own dive, because that'll allow him to jump in at a high speed, potentially countering her more defensive range moves. Chun-Li considering her answer. Because Kin does not have gauge, Chun-Li really doesn't have much to fear if she moves to range 5. We'll see what happens, though. Kin would probably respond just by closing one with his character ability, putting him at 7 guard hand. Most Kin players are very reluctant to use his character ability when it would put them over their hand limit, even though it's simply a way to filter for more options. Chun-Li chooses to prepare, excuse me. Kin strikes. Okay, so this is Dive or Hadoken. At least that's the telegraph. It could also be Tatsumaki Senpukyaku, the other copy, which would be unusual at only speed 5, but it's a hefty 5 power and it puts him at his favorite range of 2. I can see that. Moving that coin out of the way, perhaps indicating that he expects to advance onto it. Chun-Li choosing her response. She needs to decide if she's going to throw a range counter, a melee counter, expecting him to jump in, or something else entirely. She could also play block, or wild swing. And of course, not all these options are going to be in her hand at any given time. Well, usually. She responds. It is dive, it is sweep. Alright, well Kin will get in and get a little bit of damage on board, but he's going to take 8 in return, trading down by 3, and a card. checking the math there. Yep, and that hit effect. Discarding a spike. Alright. That makes it Chun-Li's turn. Hefty life advantage. Ken can turn it around, but he's going to need resources to do so. And he hasn't been really able to effectively build gauge at this point. Chun-Li is being very aggressive. It might not look it, considering only 2 strikes have happened. But this is what aggressive set play looks like. So if Chun-Li boosts, she risks retreating to Ken's favored range of 2, giving him the option of playing a critical axe kick, or Shoryuken, or cross or spike, or any other number of threats. Crossing against Chun-Li is usually a mistake. She decides to prepare. She's more comfortable at range 1 at the moment. Ken, with only 3 cards in hand, does not have a lot to threaten. At range 1, he has mix-up tools, but they're not very reliable. He chooses to evidently change cards 4. Yep, drawing a total of 5, because 4 force plus 1 for end of turn. Alright. Didn't like that hand, got a new one. Digging for some stronger threats, probably for axe kick in particular. Chun-Li deciding her response. She definitely has the advantage right now, in more ways than one. Now you'll notice she has not chosen to exceed. It may be that she is setting up for a Hosenka, or simply believes that she won't have enough time to get value out of the exceed mode, especially with Ken able to get in her face as easily as he does. In most games, that is to say most games against characters not named Ken, Chun-Li would immediately exceed here. Ah, we have a faultless focus. However, she can't afford Hosenka, so she must be setting something else up. Spins a force, chooses to retreat, and strikes immediately. Alright, does she critical? It appears she does. Okay. This is strange. The primary critical threat at this stage is, Head Stomp. But it does seem odd that she would have retreated if that was the case. In particular... Yeah, I don't really see the advantage. Flipping Axe Kick is also valid. At range 1, Flipping Axe Kick catches cross. At range 2, it does not. I'm not sure if Ken has another cross left, however. Ken choosing his response. Critical Axe Kick would allow him to hit first and trade with either of these moves. If it is either of those telegraphed moves, then a cross would let him hit first and retreat out of range. And if it's not, if it's something like, if it's a bluff, like Lightning Legs, which does have a critical, but the critical effect would not be relevant, then that would catch his cross, but loses something slower and more defensive. Alright, that's not critical. It's focus? It's head stomp. Okay. Well, this will be a trait. Chun-Li has +1 power and draw a card on hit, so she's going to advance past him. Because she advanced past him, he is considered to be in range for attack. That is how X is defined on her attack card. And she'll deal 4 damage after the armor on focus, which does not stun, but it does give her an extra gauge because of the boost faultless focus. Ken, in turn, will hit her back for 4 damage and draw a card. If Ken did not have access to any crosses, this was probably the most reasonable play. Trading down isn't great, but it's better than not trading at all. Alright. Chun-Li now has access to 4 gauge, And I believe we've seen 0 copies of Hozenka drop. So watch out for that nuke to drop at some point. Alright, can boost for +2 power. Chun-Li considering her next move. Now, she could exceed here, but it would be an unusual time to do so. She probably just needs to hold on for that Hozenka threat, and then close the game abruptly. A second copy of Faultless Focus would go a long way toward doing that. But she might just not have the resources available. Entirely depends which cards are in her hand right now. Alright, we have some activity on Chun-Li's side. Looks like a parry. Appears to be considering what to name. Sorry for the background noise, it should cease momentarily. Parry Hadouken. She retreats, even though she should not yet retreat. Alright, let's see that hand. 3, 4, 7, Axe and Shoryu. Very good. This is the point at which she would choose to retreat, because her boost is now resolved. But she made that decision ahead of time, so... she is probably taking a note. Yep. She'll need to discard her boost and draw for an turn. Ken's turn. Chun-Li has multiple options that beat dive here, so it'd be probably too risky for Ken to attempt it. Yeah, at this range he doesn't have a really dominant mix-up threat because he doesn't have any on-curve options. Looking like he change cards? Yep. Get rid of that known hand. That makes sense. One of the first things you learn in Exceed when playing against experienced players is you should not retain normals that your opponent knows about because it makes you vulnerable to reading. Can also dish to Axe Kick and Shoryuken, which is a little bit more surprising. Hey, Mad, sure, I wouldn't mind. I'm almost done eating, so it'll be good timing, I think, because it looks like this game is about 3 strikes away from being over. Chun-Li has enough damage to kill Ken in 2 hits. Ken has enough damage to kill her in 3 if the third one is Shinryuken. Okay, one moment, please. And I'm back. Alright, we are still on Chun-Li's turn, trying to decide what to do after that parry. Looks like we prepare. Ken with a fresh hand of options, now likely to try something on curve. Excuse me, or perhaps continue this boost war, which Chun-Li has kind of declined to participate in, giving him an edge. So Ken, already with an advantage thanks to his Fierce boost, now has the next turn without Chun-Li contesting it, meaning he can play another boost to compound his advantage. Traditionally, this is probably when Ken would close one with his character ability, draw a total of 2 cards, discard 1, get some good filtering, and also move to range 2, his favorite range. Filtering, by the way, just refers to the practice of basically getting more cards than you need, and then getting rid of the ones you don't want, so that you get to your good cards faster. Or the cards that you want, I should say. All cards are good in certain situations. Arguably. Alright, we have a critical EX attack. This telegraphs the speed 5, power 9 Hadoken. Yikes. There are no other relevant criticals at this range for Ken. So, it is a direct telegraph. It cannot be a spike. I believe he dropped a spike, which means there is no mix-up threat, so block is the standard answer here. Or any EX speed 5 attack, but Chun-Li has precious few of those left. The only one that she might have is EX Assault, and I don't think she does. This will go a long way toward evening out the life totals, if it is indeed the critical EX Hadoken, and Chun-Li does not have an answer. Nope, 4 or greater. Alright, it is a focus, an attempt to mitigate that damage, so Chun-Li will only take 7 from this. It's a lot of damage. It'll still stun her. You're thinking of Kiko Kin mix. Kiko Sho is the ultra with the dodge effect. Yep. Alright, Ken evidently choosing not to reuse his Hadoken. That makes sense. It's not that valuable on defense, and if his hand isn't in very good shape, wild swinging into it is just a liability. Alright, Chun-Li's turn. She may feel less confident in her capacity to close this now, but she still has 4 gauge. I believe no copies of Hosenka have dropped, and she also can pull back in her Exceed mode if she prefers to switch her lines of play right now. Yeah, that's fair, actually. Kikoken would have been... Critical Kikoken would have been a 4 armor, basically a block-like, and EX Critical Kikoken would have been able to trade. The main drawback of a single critical Kikoken being that it would cost a gauge and still get stunned, leaving Chun-Li without additional resources. Gauge management is key in particular to Street Fighter play. Looks like Chun-Li is checking that discard pile, reviewing what Ken has left. Maybe considering a reading, although she has dropped one copy of Focus already. You may notice that Chun-Li is using the Season 2 normals, Ken is using the Season 3 normals. Excuse me, this is purely an aesthetic preference. It has no bearing on mechanics. Season 2 normals are generally considered the easiest to tell apart across all released sets, so they're often used in competitive play. Yep, we have a strike. It does not appear to be critical. I would not run Hazenki here, man. It does not feel safe. I would save up for that Faultless Focus and try to get a guarantee. Even if you scare Ken, I think what he's likely to do is Wild Swing, and he may well hit an Assault if there's any remaining. Oh, EX Hazenka? Right, sorry. That's fine. I think Ken is out of crosses. I could be mistaken. But if so, EX Hazenka is pretty much fine. Doesn't quite kill, but goes a long way toward it. Ken choosing his response. Alright, it is the assaults, and it is the assaults. Ken loses the speed tie. Chun-Li gets 4 more damage in, gains advantage, and is at range 1 with 5 gauge. She is now ideally situated to play a Faultless Focus Hazenka if she has one. Faultless Focus. Spinning 1 force. And likely the critical Hazenka or critical EX Hazenka to close the game. Oh, chooses to retreat. That's strange. From range 2, Hazenka is not a kill confirm, because it can be crossed out of. Having some trouble picking the right card out. There we go. Spinning Bird Kick is a very high value card. It makes sense to throw that back in the deck, just in case. Yes, the retreat is an interesting play here. It makes it considerably less telegraphed. It does mean that the correct decision for Ken, if he has it, is simply to play cross. So what's the likely play in that case? If you're trying to fake Ken out by giving him an opening to play cross, then this should be cross or lightning legs, right? Oh my. Well, that's game. So yeah, despite appearances, it was indeed the critical Hazenka, and that'll hit for 11. Ken has 2 armor, dropping that to 9 power. That's the first game decided. Let me put that up on the screen. Chun-Li, having won a round, is now out for the rest of the set. Ah, someone you're acquainted with, Mix? The players are now just casually checking to see what was left in their decks. It's a matter of curiosity, and fairly common. Gotcha. Alright, well. Give the players a minute to figure out their second game. Matt, if you're still listening, feel free to hop in at your leisure. No pressure, though. Purely at your preference. Let's see. Chykka's remaining team members are Polar Knight and Remiliss. Here we go.
And good evening.
Good evening. Alright, so I trust you saw the team members. Enchantress, Ken, and Seijun against now Polar Knight and Remiliss.
Polar Knight, Remiliss, and Chun-Li. That's a very powerful lineup.
And a diverse team. Well, obviously, if it was me, I would run Remiliss, but looking purely at ChucklyFun's team, Polar Knight actually seems like a pretty solid pick here.
I mean, I think you're scared of... I think Remiliss into Enchantress is probably the easier match, if you're worried about Enchantress. I think
I would rather play Polar Knight into Enchantress. He has more movement.
And she can't kill him. Fair enough.
If you were ChucklyFun, what do you pick?
And I'm facing down Polar Remiliss, and my team is what? Enchantress,
Ken,
Seijun,
and Seijun.
If I'm confident enough in my Ken to lead him, and I'm not tilted, I might play him again. Because Ken into Polar and Ken into Remy is difficult. It's, can you avoid getting ground zeroed? Ken into Polar, I think Ken actually feels okay in that matchup. Especially if he can make the right call out with Axe Kick. You know,
without
the
getting
only response the Polar has is Stomp.
Yep. Which is pretty obnoxious. Well, Polar can trade with his one sweep like, but he's not exactly happy to do that.
The threat of Axe Kick coming out, especially on a crit, might make Polar reluctant to use Snow Slash or his other defensive cards, which might in turn leave him bait for, say, a quick guard-breaking Tatsu.
Makes sense.
Of all the matchups, I would feel okay about that, and I feel like Ken versus Remy is a bit deck dependent. So if I'm confident enough in my Ken play that I ran him first, I might run him out again and see where I end up. If I were going to switch, I don't love Seijun into this lineup. I think Ice Spikes really mess with Seijun's math in an unfortunate way. And
that's easy. Just always be faster and always break guard.
Yeah, a good strategy for winning, indeed. The Chun-Li strategy, if you will, always be faster and always ignore guard.
There you go. Easy.
But since that's no longer an option, Seijun feels like the deadweight character here. Either play Enchantress and hope you get Enchantress into Remy and do some crazy jukes and don't get tendrils, or play Ken, try to get the win, and then see where your opponent's head is.
Interesting. Yeah, that checks out. I think Ken in general is a solid pick into, well, I could just didn't since it's there, right? But also into Polar Knight and Remiliss, into these heavyweight type characters, I think Ken makes a lot of sense. Um, I wonder if Seijun is really that bad off against Polar Knight though. Ink Spike is a pretty epic level threat. Um, oh, looks like the players have decided though. Let's see how we
Oh,
did.
I guess we'll see if your theory is correct.
It is Seijun into Polar Knight, so we'll find out momentarily. Yeah. All right, I'm gonna put this up on the screen. Polar K into Seijun. Alright, well, we have two very different sorts of heavyweight here. Um, Polar Knight being a more traditional tank, and Seijun being an unstoppable boss monster.
I think this is going to be another case where matchup knowledge means a lot.
Mm-hmm.
I know if I were playing Polar in this situation, I would be looking to get a nice spike at range 3 from me at all times,
Mm-hmm.
and thus threaten to trade up against whatever Seijun really wants to do,
Mm-hmm.
because that range 3 is exactly where she wants to stand.
That makes sense. And in general, I find that Polar Knight wants to stand at range 1 to any opponents, with very few exceptions.
Of course, having that spike for 3 means stomp into anything but focus is a guaranteed bump into a spike.
Mm-hmm. Although at range 1, you don't get full value out of it, so at range 2, it's one of the stronger defensive tools that's around.
I guess it beats even sweep.
Mm-hmm. And comically enough, at range 1, it trades with Spike. 4, 5, 6, 7. Okay, so Seijun's going first. Got it. Alright. Well, Seijun going first has the relatively shallow mulligan of only 7 cards, letting her see only about half her deck, if she really, really wants to. What do you look for openings as Polar Knight?
In this situation,
Knowing that you're second player, of course.
I would look for an assault. Weird as it sounds. Just so I have a spacing answer to Inari guidance. That also gets a spike on the board.
Okay. Now, if she initiates with Inari guidance, Assault will not dodge it. It is you may advance as far as possible.
Right.
Assault answers dive, but not Inari. Now, on the other hand, if she uses Inari and you trade with it, then Assault is a reasonable follow-up because then she'll be at range 2 in the corner. So I think it still works for this turn after.
You might be quite actually rather okay with that. Yeah, it might be useful for all the wrong, and even just as a backstep should ranges need adjustment.
Mm-hmm. That's true. Zoning Seijun is always a good option.
Yeah, it's gonna be a big question about what shape the fortress takes.
Mm-hmm.
In terms of Seijun having a lot of push and pull effects, but not being particularly mobile.
Indeed. She has, let's see, Yokai Banishing and Foxfire to push the opponents, but she herself only moves with Inari Guidance or with, the move action and the normals.
But she does have the transform that lets her move off of a prepare.
That's true. It's on Ink Splash, which I don't consider to be a very high value card here. Although 4 damage is a useful breakpoint, considering that Shovel Slam only has 3 guard.
Mm-hmm. So we're seeing 3 go back. Yeah, the other thing I might be digging for is a rebuild.
Oh, that's just very early for a rebuild.
Given that you want to be able to keep feel like giving Seijun free turns here is dangerous. I think that's the Inari?
I would assume it is. Well, there's more than one correct answer. Sweep, focus, both trade with Inari and dive. You could also cross to back up to the wall, although you will then end up cornered. Or you could simply assume that it's block and play whatever the heck you want. Polar Knight has an extra sweep like, the range 1 to 7, 6 guard attack at speed 2. Alright, it is Inari guidance. It is focus. Yep, gonna trade with it.
And Seijun accepts.
Mm-hmm.
3 for 4, but that Inari guided transform is live.
Yeah, almost certainly correct on Seijun's part, in my opinion. She trades down, but only barely, and she gets a transformation that lets her gain extra range by spending 2 force when she sets her attack. That's on offense or defense, which is tremendously useful.
No question about that.
Mm-hmm. Polar Knight drew for his after. It's now Polar Knight's turn. At range 2 with Seijun in the corner. Did skip his after. Oh, no. Here we go. Remembered his after effect. Very good. Okay, now it's Polar Knight's turn. What's he planning? Now, the standard play here would probably be to play Shattering Stomp, which is one of his boosts, which is to place 2 ice spikes in the board in any spaces, occupied otherwise, so you can place one under your opponent, and then probably at range 1, so that if she tries to step forward, it'll be more difficult for her to get out of the fortress. Looks like we have a move action to close to range 1. Seijun is cornered at range 1 against Polar Knight. She only has 6 cards in hand, so she doesn't quite have the monster stats that she's used to. Probably just to prepare, right? Yep.
Yeah, seems about right.
Build up that hand. Seijun wants to have 8 to 9 cards to maximize the value of her attacks.
Well,
Polar Knight's a patient boy, however. He has enough late game power that he doesn't really need to be putting a lot of pressure on her in the early game.
I mean, she's not standing on a spike. This is a place where she will likely trade, but
She's not likely to
no
get guard
spike
crushed.
with no spike nearby to even get moved by some of Polar's other moves.
Yeah, I guess she's vulnerable to grasp, and that's about it, right?
Mm-hmm. And even a grasp would be 5
Yeah, just 5.
spikes.
Which is fairly easy for her to trade with, although it would technically stun her. No worries.
Sorry about that.
I answered that preemptively. Alright, we have Polar Knight considering their response.
I think they may be coming over the same line that we are. It's like, I have you where I want you, but where's everything else that I want?
Yes, I have you where I want you, but what do I do? Polar Knight also has a... So he has an interesting Ultra. It's an Ultra that has a text of block on it. Oh, here we go. Is that Shattering Stomp? There it is. Place high spikes onto any 2 spaces, occupied or unoccupied. One under him... sorry, one in the space behind him and one under the opponent's. This makes a lot of sense.
That's the answer.
Yep, if you're wondering why we turn them sideways, by the way, that is just a tabletop simulator trick to prevent the cards from automatically becoming little decks by themselves. In real life, we don't care how you stick them. It's fine. Confirming the reading on that boost, and passing turn to Seijun. Okay, now you're on a spike. So he's threatening up to, 7 or 8 damage, depending on what speed he goes at. More likely, 5 to 7. So those are numbers. I'd be pretty concerned as Seijun.
If I'm Seijun here, I feel like your worst case threat is taking like an 8 power sweep here. Like that's just a big chunk that is hard to deal with. The card we might see at this range is Yokai Vanishing.
That makes sense. That actually beats sweep because it can push the opponent 3 spaces. Against other attacks, she can choose whether she wants to push or just draw a card instead.
Right. And speed 6, it's certainly not too shabby.
And next to the cards in her hands, he would have to pop an Ice Spike in order to beat it with Grasp. Alright, we have a reading entering play. Interesting. Very little information has been... Wait, what's this?
I don't know.
How? Where did... That...
Where'd that
Okay.
come from?
There's an extra annoying guy.
From the
Oh,
reference.
okay. They dragged it from the reference somehow. That's kind of impressive. Alright,
Wow, the grasp was there.
okay, so it's not a reading Grasp. We might see the Grasp get played, but we'll find out presently. It looks like they are trying to sort out how to get that that hand to be easily viewable.
So we've got grasp, polar plow, which would not have been a bad idea to just slam on the previous turn.
Mm-hmm. Shovel Slam, which is a huge threat, actually, although it's not very safe on defense.
Shovel slam and snow slash and stomp. Snow slash not being active yet, but there's that block text.
Yep. So Snow Slash is a very important card. It actually is kind of a liability to draw it too early, because the value of this card is only basically in play once you have at least 2 gauge, and the same is true for the boost, which means having it too early actually makes it a dead card in hands. He does have that rebuild.
I could have seen a range 1 polar plow here on a previous turn if he had had access to it. Seeing Seijun's positioning, but going for the stomp at least hides that. But it makes you wonder what the read was.
Well, at range 1, the default reading is Spike, since it doesn't give any information away.
That's fair. And we're going to see...
Yokai into... Ooh, Polar Plow. Well, this is not too bad for Seijun, really, because the effect on Polar Plow gives him -1 power for each spike between him and the opponents. The snowball gets smaller as it covers up the spikes.
Push 3, they would reduce the damage taken by 2. So they may decide that it's not worth it and draw the cards.
Oh, looks like they do want to get that -2 power on Polar Knight's attack. So right now he has 3 power. He can bump that up to 5 if he removes that Ice Spike under Seijun. Yeah, his before effect unfortunately won't really do anything because there is already an Ice Spike in her space.
He looks like he chooses to remove.
Yep. So that'll let him deal a total of 5 damage, at least if my math is correct. That should put Seijun down to 21, right?
It would be 5 damage, so yes.
And then he closes 3 for his after effects. Seijun gains access to a particularly irritating transformation, and an important one, but Polar Knight still has his after effects to worry about.
Well, there's a lot of choices for spaces, but none of them are under Seijun or under Polar Knight. 1 to 7 is quite a ways.
Actually, under Polar Knight would be legal if he had chosen to place it before advancing.
Ah, that's right, because you could sequence the after effects as such.
Yep. 2 different after effects means you can play them in the order of your choice. Seijun looks like talking about transformations. So the transformation on Yokai Banishing is Meddlesome. This is one of 2 transformations which basically introduces a new timing step, very unusually for this game. When the opponent plays a boost, so after costs and before decisions, Seijun may discard a copy of that card, so it's only relevant in mirror matches or with normals. If she does this, then that boost is discarded with no effect, meaning the opponent will just basically pass their turn doing nothing, but forcing both players to discard a card. This is particularly valuable because Seijun, with her huge hand size, is vulnerable to reading, so as long as she keeps a copy of reading in hand, that is to say of focus, she can be safe against it for basically the rest of the game.
Which is especially important if she decides to use her Exceed mode, which can literally let her draw everything.
Yep. Polar Knight's initiating. Well, we just saw that hand a moment ago. So this could be the Snow Slash, it could be the Shovel Slam. I don't really see the other... Oh, it could be Grasp, actually. Grasp is pretty reasonable here. She doesn't have access to big damage, Ink Spike, or massive speed Ink Splash.
At least one focus is down as well.
Yeah, this is a good time to Grasp. That's my read, at least.
Take the damage, Exceed next turn to sharpen up those Ice Spikes to +3 power. Seems pretty good.
I tend to agree. Although to get the most damage out of the Grasp, you would have to pull her out of the fortress, or sorry, out of the corner to get onto the fortress, which, I guess it can't be helped. Oh, we have an EX response. That could be bad if that's an EX Grasp.
EX Grasp would be absolutely comedy here. EX Grasp actually beats literally everything in that hand. Yes, it is.
And it is. Alright. Unfortunate for Polar Knight. He's going to take 4 damage and be stunned, as well as moves probably to range 3, but it depends on what Seijun has in hands.
That's not a cheap play either, both Grasps being down. But with the right number of cards, Seijun has access to other speed 7 options. It's just how much is in hand.
Indeed. If she doesn't have access to Ancient Ambition, her reload is going to be a little bit on the rough side.
You said it before I could. I feel like if one of those 4 cards, if it's Ancient Ambition, you're going to see it hit the table right now.
I definitely agree. She's either deciding movement or she's already decided to pull Polar Knight's 1 or 2 spaces, which would cause him not to move.
Just to be precise, we mean the Ultra Tale of Nine Sorrows was boost Ancient Ambition, draw 5 cards.
Quite right. Let me put that up. Wow. I missed. Okay, there we go. Alright. Looks like she decided to push him 1 to range 2.
Interesting.
She's threatening Foxfire and the other yokai banishing at this point.
Foxfire, not a terrible choice.
A little low on guard right now.
Second yokai to reload. I mean, just have a prep.
Alright, so she's probably missing that Ancient Ambition. Needs to draw into it. That card is really a major economy source for Seijun, who doesn't have much else other than yokai and Ancient Ambition to give her draw power. Her Exceed mode does give her a draw, but it's pretty early to Exceed.
I would agree. I think the guard passive guard that she's going to get by having cards in hand will probably do her more good, and especially in someone as tanky as Polar Knight, accelerating your deck by that much this early basically ensures they're going to have the advantage if this game does go all the way to the bottom of both reshuffles.
It's actually very possible. Kyubi no Kitsune draws an awful lot of cards. And Polar Knight plays an awful lot of blocks. Although, maybe not as many as Treasure Knight. Well, Polar Knight's turn. I mean, he has a Stomp in hand, but it's also pretty terrible right now. So, his threats aren't really notable. Icicle Drop doesn't do much, although he could use it for the rebuilds. Actually, I think that's probably the play right now.
Rebuild, get that 3rd gauge without it being contested.
Yep, and then, let's see. Yeah, only has to remove 1 Ice Spike, I believe, so obviously the one under himself if he does choose to play it. The nice thing about Rebuild is how it combos with the Succeed mode. You can basically do either in either order. If you rebuild and then exceed, you pick up the spikes, and then you exceed and you put them back down. Or the other way around, if you exceed, you place a bunch of spikes, and then you rebuild to pick them up, draw cards, and get a gauge back. So it just depends on what you need to threaten, what you need your resources to do. Either order, it's a good combo. Polar Knight checking his discards. This is
Long
game
moment
2.
of deep consideration.
Yep. This is game 2. If Polar Knight can close it against Seijun, that will end the set right away. However, he's still some ways away from that. At 20 plus life, both fighters have quite a bit more to go. How much have you played Polar Knight?
Not a great deal. I enjoyed his very deliberate, or might even say glacial, gameplay, and the ability to put 3 damage on anything is always nice.
Oh, always.
But yeah, and there's the rebuild.
Yep. I should zoom in on that.
So at its heart, at the end of the day, this is a even if you remove 0 ice spikes, you still get 2 cards and a gauge from this card. Looks like the remove is 1.
Yeah, and the one 2 spaces behind himself instead of under himself. He must be planning on retreating in the near future, or he's just trying to set up a longer game board state.
Or he anticipated possibly being, maybe he's worried about being pushed, is the other idea.
That's true. Foxfire and Yokai are both very alive right now.
Now, would you describe Polar's Exceed as a must-do?
Yes. I would, straight up. His really good value Ultra is only 2 gauge, so and he has a 3 gauge flip, so he can afford to play that Ultra when he needs to. Yep, they sure did. And still have enough gauge to exceed. That exceed changes the breakpoints of his attacks dramatically. +2 power and +3 power might sound pretty close together, but there's a world of difference between an assault that trades with sweep and an assault that breaks sweep.
Similarly, a shovel slam that potentially
trades with focus
versus breaks focus.
Yeah, it turns into, baby's first ground 0 at that point, which is big numbers.
Big numbers, fabulous prizes.
Oh, it's actually even faster, isn't it? It's not baby's first, because it's speed 4 printed, meaning it's speed 5 to VX. Whew. All right, that's brutal.
Parry Snow Slash.
Yep, that was known, I believe, from the earlier reveal.
It's true, one of those spare blocks, as we discussed. And the other interesting thing, of course, is that the flip gets Polar one of those other opportunities to rebuild ice spikes, including placing them under the opponent.
Yes, it's true. His standard effect only lets him place it in unoccupied spaces, but card effects in his Exceed mode will let him place them under the opponent. So his threat level amps up immediately. Is this the flip? It looks like it. Yep, he's performing that that kicker, that when you exceed effects. He's placed 1. He's placed 2 more.
quite fabulous with that upgraded armor and majestic cloak.
Mm-hmm. Man, probably did a fantastic work on the artwork.
Yeah. We're talking about one of level 99's most commonly called upon artists. Is it Fontes?
I believe it's pronounced Fonch.
Oh, my apologies. But you may have seen his work in Millennium Blades, on a number of earlier BC promos,
Pixel Tactics.
Pixel Tactics, and the designs that you see here were not given to us by given to Level 99 by Yacht Club Games, but these are designs built off their suggestions or sometimes straight from our artist's imagination, and I think they roundly the seed art in for this season 4 is exceptional.
Agreed. It is spectacular in these completely custom Exceed modes. It looks like Seijun just prepared.
Looked like a prepare followed by a defend.
Mm-hmm. All right. The
Could
threat.
be they're relying on that second yokai vanishing to say they wouldn't dare stomp me at this range.
That is dangerous business. Even setting aside Stomp, Shovel Drop, I believe? Let's see.
Shovel drop cannot be moved, that's correct.
Yep, that's the one. It is a cannot be moved spike-like. Doesn't hit range 1 in most cases because it advances 2 or 3, but has ignore armor and in this case would do 6 damage.
Even more so, will hit.
Yes, rather important. Little details. Hitting with attacks. Seijun, yep. Confirming game state. So Seijun actually had a window there if she wanted to discard a copy of Spike to negate the defend boost, but defend is usually considered a lower value boost. Especially if you're that concerned about it, you can strike with Spike and then you'll ignore armor and guard. It's not
like that,
quite that
that's
simple,
actually not a terrible play here, is to threaten Spike.
I mean, it's pretty relevant. Polar is a tanky dude, so a lot of things he does lose to Spike.
And most of all, in this board state, even Stomp with the Spike removed would be 3, which
trades with
is more than enough guard to handle.
Oh, that's true, yeah. That +3 is basically negated. The damage isn't, but its ability to stun is by her extra guard. Alright, well, she is now going to be vulnerable to reading. Wait. Yeah. Okay, there we go. Polar Knight almost getting ahead of things.
Sweep.
EX Foxfire, not the Spike, but will do just as well because of its after push 2 effect. So she'll hit for 7 minus 1 is 6 damage, drop the Polar Knight to 16 life, and then the after effect will push him away too. Normally this after is actually a drawback for Seijun, who prefers to be at closer ranges.
It's also notable for being a rare instance of a movement effect on your opponent on an after.
This is true. There is one other in the game that I can think of.
But means even in a full board situation, there are times where you can play Foxfire, miss, but push your opponent out of range nonetheless.
Mm-hmm. Alright. Decent value there. Did push him to kind of an awkward range. This range is definitely better for Polar Knight. However, Seijun has access to the transformation on NRA guidance, so he shouldn't discount her threats.
The bigger issue is with 5 cards in hand, both Ink Spike and Ink Splash are looking a little anemic.
That's true. She can threaten Assault and Spike at this range, but it'll be pretty costly to do so. She's going to need that Ancient Ambition pretty soon to reload.
see across.
Yep. Polar Knight boosting to run back in. Moving all three spaces.
Looks like offering Seijun the chance to cancel.
No
Looks
cancel.
like the timing window has passed.
Yep. Yeah, technically it would have passed when he moved his character, but sometimes we forget to ask. Seijun, looking at that 5-card hand, probably can't be feeling very comfortable. That said, she is actually now she now qualifies for the Ninth Tail transformation, which is your attacks have hits if you have fewer cards in hand than the opponent plus 2 power. So she may be trying to leverage that.
If only she had some sort of quick attack, like grasp at her. Oh wait.
You know, I feel like the deck comes with those, but they keep like escaping suddenly. It's because they move quickly, so they're out of reach.
Interesting.
A move action.
Move action, an expensive move action, giving up that other copy of Yokai Banishing as well, as well as one of her ultras.
Yes, but not the one with Ancient Ambition. We're still waiting to see that drawn. Surprising that Seijun, with all this draw power, has... Well, that's not quite true. She didn't have all the draw power she wanted because one Yokai Banishing she just ditched for force, and the other she had to push to be safe instead of drawing.
So, if I'm Polar Knight here, this hand screams to me that I wouldn't pay this if I didn't have cross.
Unless you just drew it, for sure.
Just putting yourself in this position at range 2 and giving up Yokai Banishing says to me, I want no part of this particular ice fortress. The question now becomes, does he have a ready answer?
Well, he still has the Stomp in hand. And here's the thing about Stomp, right? It's not necessarily an attack he wants to play right now because it'll shove her out of the fortress, but it has reach on it. So if he has his other Grasp, I don't recall if one is dropped, or if both have dropped, I know one is dropped. Or if he can play it with Shovel Drop or just about anything else. He could potentially use his use Shovel Drop to move past her, or use Grasp to pull her, and kind of keep her on this side of the board.
Yeah, Shovel Drop, boost reach, play Grasp here would be absolutely lovely. The question is, is that an option?
Indeed. And it looks like he's going to strike, but we do not see a reach come out, which means that is not the play.
And you could, now, correct me if I'm wrong, but you could still snuff the cross threat here.
Oh. That was a cheeky spike. Excuse me, perhaps calling the Shovel Drop after all, but he is going to pop the spike under her for +3 power.
And
then push 2.
Push her away.
And then he may pop that other spike to gain advantage. So he'll deal 3 damage. This does not stun Seijun, who is 5 guard, but she'll miss because her range is only 2 to 3, and she did not spin for range. Polar Knight examining his effects, deciding whether or not he wants to move that for advantage. Does so. After effect, we'll place one of those spikes back in range of his attack. Seijun needs to take 3 damage, drop to 18 life.
Now things are not looking particularly lovely for Seijun.
It looks like they skipped his after effect.
That is not a legal space.
There we go.
That
okay.
is.
Yeah, hey, Jeppies.
Wow.
Wait, I thought it was mandatory.
The ice spike placement?
Huh. I'm gonna lean to my left and pick up my box of Shovel Knight. And look at this character card. Normal mode. After, place an ice spike onto an enemy by facing its X range. Exceed mode. After, you may place an ice. I'll be danged.
Wow. I didn't know that either. I suppose that means you don't have to unsculpt your perfectly sculpted fortress, but
That's a
golly.
new one. Alright, well, we're all learning today. Spinning that stomp to advance 1 space.
Wow. So it's both stomps gone.
Yeah, I believe so. Yeah, one was hit and one is on top of discards.
Yeah. Oh.
Oh, Cuba no
wow.
Kitsune.
I guess with 18 life to go, Seijun has decided that they need power now.
Mm-hmm. Deciding not to go for that Ninth Tail, needs to draw some cards. So she is the kicker of immediately drawing 3 cards. And then she'll draw for end of turn, putting her at 7. Polar Knight's turn. She's at range 3. She does not have a spike under her. Now, if you're Polar Knight, do you just hang back and try to tank through until she runs out of cards outright? Because she's got quite a few cards to go through.
My answer to that is a firm I don't know. You've given up a lot of powerful offensive options. I could see myself maybe trying to boost to increase the pressure here, but it's complicated with the Inari Guidance transform and this spacing. Seijun can step forward 1, even if Polar Knight tries to retreat, be on the edge of the fortress and put an extraordinary amount of pressure right on him.
That's true.
The real interesting thing here will be, I have been trying to count foci, and I know that Seijun is out, but is Polar Knight.
I believe he has 1 left.
Then that will be very interesting, because there is an opportunity to crack this game nearly wide open if Seijun does not draw through her deck and find that other focus as insurance against Meddlesome.
I could be mistaken, but that was my count.
No reshuffles have happened yet.
That's correct, Travis. Wait, what? Oh, okay. Sorry, I didn't see her ink splash for a second there. Yep, she'll outspeed with speed 6, poke him for 4, and stun.
I would consider not transforming that.
Well, she may want access to that prepare move.
It could be just to sort of be able to sidle off of spikes. And there's a lot of situations in which move 1 can actually be cheaper than spending force to move. For example, if you want to cross over your opponent.
Indeed. Alright. Well, it's Seijun's turn. She drew for the start of her turn, because Cuba no Kitsune does that. She has 7 cards
Because we are
left.
all about unorthodox timing steps with Seijun.
Yep. That is just the way this game is working. She's only got 7 cards in hand. I'm guessing we see a prepare. Or maybe now the Ancient Ambition will come out and make her draw up to, 12 or so.
So she's got 10 in, she's at the midpoint of her deck, which is very important. She's got 10 in deck, 8 in discards, and she wants to get value out of these particular cards. By her very nature, Seijun ends up with a hand full of stuff. And she's going to hit that reshuffle in probably less than 10 turns. Almost certainly less than 10. No, I suppose she could simply strike with every card she draws. But she doesn't want to be reshuffling while still having 10 or 12 or 14 cards in hand, because it means that second shuffle is going to be very shallow.
Agreed. She needs to find a way to dump these cards. The Transformation and Inari Guidance is good for that, but much more important is Transformation and Ink Spike, which I believe we see no copies of.
And that would be actually a really devastating threat here. See another parry come out. Maybe hunting for that other focus.
Yep. True for end of turn. What is this?
I think that was a missed parry, so we're
Yeah.
seeing a reveal.
Zero
We've got
3 shovel slam seems before, and then shovel charge. 0-3 slam charge.
Shovel charge is a credible threat, and though into inks, well, that's an important thing to note. With having gone to her exceed form, Seijun no longer has that passive guard, so getting poked out is a lot stronger a threat.
This is true. Although if he defends with it against an EX ink spike, it still won't do the trick.
Absolutely, and that would be a bone-crushing mistake.
Mm-hmm.
Looks like we have a very contemplative moment again.
Mm-hmm.
A glacial
Yep.
set of thinking.
Defend makes sense. Seijun is not threatening reading, which is very important, so he allows that block to remain known in hand. Cuban needs to drop start of turn. There we go.
That's something I wish I knew the answer to is, does Seijun have a spike left?
An actual spike as opposed to an ink spike? I believe there's one left, but I could be mistaken. I find it more interesting to do this without actually counting cards.
It is, and it's an interesting sort of test of your memory.
Mm-hmm. I am wrong very constantly, and it means the games are always surprising. You're thinking of Ink Spike, Chuppies. Ink Splash is the fast one. Yeah, Ink Spike, Ink Splash is basically the core Seijun mix-up. Let's see.
Am I going with a speed of yes or a power of yes?
Mm-hmm. Or, if you have Ink Spike transformed, you can play EX Ink Splash and just have yes and yes.
1 to 3, yes is one of my favorite stat lines.
It could even be 1 to 4 yes yes.
Well, we might be seeing that right now with a 2-4 spend.
Yep, so that's for range. Only 5 cards left in hand, so it's not a huge threat as far as the ink mix-up goes.
This feels like a supercross to me.
So Juppy's... Sorry, why did Polar Knight use Dive on that one strike when she responded with the Ink Splash? I mean, I think he was trying to get past her so that he could use push effects to get her back toward the fortress. And he just got poked out. So you think it's a cross?
I mean, you saw the hand. There were speed 3, speed 5, block, and a new unknown card.
Mm-hmm.
Both stomps her down. Maybe she wants to go full board. Maybe hit 1 or 2 more times and set up for those 7 trials that appear to be at the bottom of her deck.
She spent 1 as force earlier to move past him.
That's right.
But yeah, no, I mean, I think it makes sense. Cross is sensible. This could also... Oh, I believe that is for second spike. So it's not a spike just trying to mess with his head, which is what I was hoping it would be. He wild swings. It is indeed the cross. It is the assaults, which will... He won't get stuns, but he also won't hit her. So
he will move forward and place a spike in more relevant territory.
Which is important. He'll take 2 damage after armor, dropping him to 10. Close 2. And his after effect will place that last spike. Well, technically he could move one existing spike if he wanted to.
Spike, as we have learned.
Thank you. Optionally place that spike. Game is hard. But he stands in the center, which is actually pretty good. It means he kind of controls the arena. It'll be hard for her to move past him without getting in his face anyway. And if she gets in his face, he'll be pretty happy with that. I don't think so, Ogre. It totally blindsided us too. We were at least I was convinced that it said it was mandatory on both sides. Like, that's why I gave the rules correction. I would not have. I didn't intend it as advice. I thought it was a rules correction. Also, why is Ken's name smaller on my overlay than it should be? That was a, let's see, a prepare by Polar Knight. QB needs to draw for start of turn.
Very interested to see what Polar Knight has left. This seems like the board state where you're either playing a Polar Plow to just roll on in, or
I mean, Polar Plow does 8 damage from here, so pretty good. And no spikes left. And she just doesn't have the hand size to play a big scary ink spike.
looks like he declined the placement or forgot. Well,
Yep. However, QB's start of turn draw. Yeah, no, it's gone now. QB's start of turn draw is mandatory, however. So if QB takes an action, I will need to correct that.
it seems that this other spectator consensus is that we are all blindsided by the word "nay" appearing on that card.
Bernstein Bears.
Yeah.
Or actually, what's the actual name of that?
The Mandela effect.
Mandela effect, thank you. Yes. Everyone knows how Polar Knight Succeed mode works. And we're all wrong. Looks like QB may have missed that Polar Knight took a turn.
Oh, that would explain the delay.
Yep. I saw that EX attack flip, and please hold. You need to draw a card. Okay, carry on. Alright, well, she can't have too many EX attacks left.
I mean, probably just a dive? EX dive?
Oh, that's for range.
Oh, plus force. EX assault?
I don't think so. I'm gonna call sweep.
EX sweep seems lovely. Actually, at this range. Though, and Polar Plow is speed
2, and it only has 6 guards, so it would get crushed.
It would, in fact. So we'll see if that is the play.
It was the assault. I was wrong. I was dead
into
wrong.
a block.
Okay, well that seems fine. It is 5 power.
But this is the kind of play that you want to see from Seijun. As I was saying, putting the pressure on, forcing those defensive resources out, and more importantly, cycling those cards through her hand into damage.
7 damage. Jeppy's is correct. Ninth Tail is in play.
That's a lot better.
That's legitimately scary. Polar Knight currently taking 5.
Taking
1.
That's the other Snow Slash as well.
Huh, interesting.
Taking 0.
Spinning the Snow Slash is interesting here. He must be confident he's not going to need more blocks, because it's basically another copy of block.
Yeah. Snow Slash gone, Shovel Slam gone.
And QB with advantage. So QB will need to draw for the start of her turn.
And then we're going to see, there it is, that Ancient Ambition. How ambitious.
Drawing 5, drawing for end of turn. That's the full deck.
Yeah.
9 cards, I believe, yeah. Yep.
9 cards, 2 of which we are reasonably certain are Ink Spike.
Yes.
I would not want to be polar in this board state, especially with, I believe, both blocks. Oh,
Okay, here we go.
oh my goodness.
Oh, okay, the EX Sweep was available. And so is the EX Dive. Huh.
EX Sweep, EX Dive, EX Ink Spike, with a cross and a splash to back it up.
Yep. 22446. And the 3 inks. Oh, also Ancient Edition.
Wow.
Pretty good.
Definitely pretty good.
Polar Knight gets a turn before she automatically draws into that reshuffle.
Mm-hmm.
I guess I'll leave that where it's visible a little bit longer.
I suppose. Oh, but that last focus is still live. A forced dive here could be catastrophic.
It could be pretty funny. Now, notably, if he doesn't stun the dive, it can still hit him because Inari Guidance sure has a transformation on it, doesn't it?
That's an excellent point. And furthermore, even if he forces the dive, she can subsequently just cross out and leave the fortress once more.
Mm-hmm. Or run past, rather.
Mm-hmm.
Hmm. Well, I guess the good news is that Night Tail is no longer active because she has 500,000 cards in hands. In funnier news, if her next attack that lands is dive, she will have landed 7, 6, 5, 4 in succession in her gauge. She had some specials hit in between those, but, you know, discounting that.
Everyone knows the secret win condition is having the most aesthetic gauge.
Absolutely. What do you think Bison's for?
The bonsai cultivator of Exceed, Bison.
Mm-hmm. Have you heard the legend of Jin Remy Bison? Alright. Polar Knight deciding how and if he can punish.
Which makes you think that focus is there. Maybe they're doing the same math we are.
Maybe I miscounted and there was a focus, or there were no foci remaining on Polar's side. Boy, I can't talk today.
Yeah. Well, either way, whatever 3 cards those left are, knowing that none of them are Snow Slash and none of them are Stomp, makes me a little uncomfortable.
Yep.
If I were playing.
If I'm the Polar Knight, yeah.
Yeah.
Legitimately might just reshuffle here. What do we got? Shattering Stomp. Okay, that's fair. Start rebuilding that fortress.
Mm-hmm.
Now, if it was me, I'd place one under her and one at the corner. Interesting. You chose not to place one under her.
Well, the text is on there, so that's choice.
Oh, completely legal. Absolutely. I wonder if he expects her to move in the very near future by using her prepare transformation. Parry? Lands on focus. Okay, there it is.
Wow.
Yep.
Well,
it was there after all.
That was a block off the top and an immediate parry of the focus also drawn off the top.
Absolutely correct.
Wow. That is what we call game instinct.
Which is to say that the game itself has good instincts.
Mm-hmm.
Give you the right cards.
Good. Looks like a CC.
Mm-hmm. That's my guess. Move action doesn't seem all that useful here.
Makes you again wonder what they're digging for that they do not have.
Mm-hmm. It's not all that much left in that deck. Oh. Tosses a light. Draws 3, draws for an turn. Oh, okay. Drew too many cards. Need to shuffle the last one back.
Shouldn't have had to reveal it, but.
I presume that they're just explaining what happened to the opponent.
Oh. 1, 2, 3. Yeah. They had, well,
Yep, they are correct.
so 5 in hand, 4 in deck left for Polar. No gauge.
Alright, QB has 11 cards left to get through. So, Seijun players, rule of thumb. You want your opponent's life to be lower than the cards you have left in your deck. Or you are in danger of getting decked out. In this case, Seijun is doing fine. Please note, I'm not saying it's likely if your opponent's at, 3 life, and... Sorry, if your opponent's at 5 life, and you have 3 cards in deck, you can probably still kill them. But the danger is real, if you're not maintaining that advantage.
So this hand is easy to play if cross doesn't exist.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like there's no universe where you don't just slam the ink spike, set that EX transform up, and just start with 8 damage and work your way from there.
I think that's sensible. I think he's blocking if he has it.
EX
Oh,
spike.
wow. That was very greedy. It looks like he was going for a hefty punish, something like a sweep, where he would have been able to do 8 damage.
And break it.
Yep, however, playing that on defense against an EX attack means it will only outspeed a speed 1 or 2 attack, and it gets stunned by everything. So you'll have to spin a force to validate that. That is the other polar clock on. And he is getting stunned for, yeah, that's 8 damage.
Yeah.
I believe that will... it won't be the end of the game immediately, but I believe that sealed Polar's fates. It is Polar Knight's turn.
And we know the cross is in hand, which if there is no block and there is no block and boost left.
Blockade doesn't
It
help.
just be-
It requires gauge.
Ah.
But yeah, no block, no snow slash, and no block and, because it's also on snow slash. He prepares. Okay, maybe there is a block left in there, because I can't think of any other reason to do that, instead of taking the reshuffle action. QB needs to draw for start of turn. Does so. Oh, 10 cards left. Striking with 1 card. Well, EX cross is admittedly unnecessary, so this could be cross or ink splash in my book. If a block remains on Polar Knight's side, this could be the spike. It is ink splash. Takes out that cross for lethal. Good game.
The cross did exist. It was there.
Mm-hmm.
And it's a very different game if that cross escapes that 8 damage.
Indeed. Alright, let me put that up on the screen. Polar Knight lost the second game. No pressure at all for staying around for the third. Thank you very much for joining me for the second. Totally up to you if you feel like sticking around.
I will for the short term, if that's alright, and then
That's fine.
I may have to duck out.
Yep, excuse yourself whenever you need to. No problem at all. Appreciate you joining me.
It's always a pleasure.
Alright, so Chun-Li and Seijun are both dead. Let's see who's left. Enchantress and Kin versus Polar Knight and Remiliss. Okay, I would definitely bring Kin now. Like, Enchantress is good. Into Remiliss, she doesn't really have stats, and that worries me. And I'm not convinced at all that she can actually run away from Polar Knight.
Polar Knight has too many attacks with numbers like 7 and 8 at the end of their range totals for me to be, and more importantly, several decent 1-3s and the surprising movement range of Shovel Drop, which she has a lot of trouble stopping just because it's also got a ton of guard and armor on it.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, I don't like the match into Enchantress very much at all. I mean, Ken just has to do Ken things. I also don't particularly like Enchantress into Remiliss. Nuclear option is very difficult for her to deal with, especially if Tendrils is up.
That is true.
And a lot of Enchantress's most potent options lose to relatively accessible Remiliss EXs. Like, aside from a point on homing orb or a very far spaced fire wave, for example, EX Toxic Tendrils beats very many things.
Yes, it does. Yeah, that's pretty fair.
The fact that Magic Shot is nearly a dead card on offense is non-trivial.
I would agree with that. EX Magic Shot is about the only version of it that's particularly worth playing.
On the other hand, you could possibly play a very disruptive game using Mind Control and Ground Break to put Remiliss in unfortunate situations and then escape, but
well, that
a
is,
lot of those don't feel great either.
That's the way that Enchantress wins that matchup if she wins that matchup, right? She doesn't actually fight. She just tries to burn Remiliss out of resources, and play the card game, not the fighting game, because that's what she's good at. Enchantress has, infinite resources forever to do whatever she wants with, and she messes with your resources.
Mm-hmm.
So that's the game she has to play. Polar Knights or Remiliss. I mean, Remiliss seems fine. I think I'd rather play Remiliss into Ken and Polar Knight into Enchantress is what I think I'd favor. So I guess I bring Remiliss if I think that ChucklyFun is going to play Ken.
And I think either way, given Enchantress's weaknesses, I think I just pick Ken.
That's fair.
We'll just see who draws into the most potent damage first.
Mm-hmm.
And slug it out.
Yep. Still waiting on that player reveal. Okay. Looks like they're just about ready. Whoop. Bit of an early reveal there. Remiliss and Ken.
Well,
alright.
If our competitors come back and watch this later, we agree with you.
Yep. Good call. Alright, so let's see. Remy. This should be entertaining.
Looking at Ken's stat line as compared to Remiliss, there's a few really funny numbers that are just like specifically unpleasant for Remiliss, like that even EXs can't respond with. The first one that immediately comes to my eye is an offensive Hadoken, especially an offensive crit Hadoken, beats Irradiate.
Yes, Irradiate is not proof against Kendoken, which is a pretty big deal. Nuclear option can trade with it, which is nice. What the... okay. That worked, I guess.
However they get there.
Mm-hmm. So for those not familiar, Remiliss is a close-range heavyweight, but she can control space across a lot of the arena once she has a particular set of abilities in play. She is a Season 2 character, so and a 7th Cross character, meaning that she has transformations, which let her gain basically additions to her character ability as the fight goes on. Kin is, well, we talked about him earlier this stream, actually. It's close range, well, all range rush down. Very aggressive, very good at getting the opponent's face, and building a lot of resources and then burning a lot of resources. Remiliss also likes to burn and build resources in a cycle, but she's notably better at close range than long range. Yeah, there we go. So her projectile, her actual projectile, Radiate, speed 3. Note that Remiliss's ability lets her turn anything into an EX attack by spending 3 force. So Radiate will commonly be speed 4, with 1 armor, 4 guard. And by the same token, that nuclear option will be speed 3, with 1 armor, 5 guard. But of key importance in this matchup, as in some others, is Radiation, the transformation on Toxic Tendrils. If Remiliss can get this into play pretty early, she'll have a huge advantage over the rest of the match. She'll force Kin to fight her in melee, where she has haymakers he simply cannot trade with. Not even critical Axe Stomp can beat an EX ground 0. And even EX Axe Stomp. Only Axe Stomp? Wait, hold on a second. What's the name of that card?
Axe Kick.
Axe Kick, sorry.
Kick.
Mix up Axe Kick and Head Stomp. Can we get a Head Kick next? Anyway.
Oh, we have a DC.
Uh-oh. Well, that could be a problem. I'm going to quickly check the Discord. Yeah, I've never seen that happen. It looks like Chuck-Li is still in voice chats. It's possible Discord just hasn't realized that he dropped yet. Well, bear with us, everyone. Axe Stomp. Wow. Anyway, Axe Kick does not stun ground 0. EX Axe Kick does not stun EX ground 0. Font spacing. I have no idea. Is it the font size? At the suggestion of Nix from chat.
Well, here we are.
As I say, then there were 2. We'll just wait for a bit. Okay, yeah, Chuck-Li did drop from Discord, so I'm guessing his internet went out, at least temporarily. Let's hope it's temporary.
I hope so as well. Well, while we've got this dead space, may as well remind everyone what they're watching, which is another pool play match in Exceed Matchup Madness, the biggest ever Exceed tournament being held online, the Level 99 Games community Discord.
Organized by Taxicab, of the largest known IRL meta, and play community for Exceed fighting system. join the Level 99 Organized Play Discord. We are friendly people. You can find games, and if you are interested in Exceed at all, you can play it for free on Tabletop Simulator. This module that I maintain is XFS Balanced Breakfast. It is not the official module, which is why I avoid using the official name. I maintain it for competitive use for enthusiasts such as myself.
And it's a shame if you are watching this video not on the early part of March, you will have just missed a sale that's going on for Exceed, 10% off everything. Currently on the Level 99 game store. Should be
Everything?
a good chance to
Dang.
Exceed, everything Exceed.
Oh, okay. So say I gotta go grab that Journey playmat if it's still around. If you are watching this not in the early part of March, time travel back here. It's pretty good.
Yeah.
Sale going on.
Oh.
Weather's nice.
I personally would happily give Relatively a miss if it meant 10% off Exceed fighting system.
I know, right? I time traveled this morning actually. Not the best experience, but you know, it's this thing. We do it twice a year for some reason.
Oh, that's right.
Pretty silly.
I would say most people end up time traveling on Sunday mornings in general, depending on the nature of their Saturday nights.
I see.
More of a dilation than anything else.
I grow concerns about this game. Let me message the competitors.
There you go.
Huh. It's always interesting when you message someone to find out that you actually messaged them before, because the chat log pops up. I messaged this person in 2018. Alright. For those not updated on what's going on, I am checking with the competitors. Looks like ChucklyFun's internet has probably gone out. Dang, they were 1-1 and about to start a Ken vs. Remiliss game. That would have been hyped. Well, one of our competitors has shown up again. Love dead air. I know, right? Well, there's not much else we can do.
About it.
Yep. Oh. Looks like the second competitor has got his internet back up. I'll just turn the music up a bit.
we'll see if they actually manage to make the jump from here to there.
Mm-hmm. I expect him shortly.
Who's gonna win? Random guesses from the crowd. Honestly, I'm impressed with the level of play from both these competitors, so I think this is anyone's game. I do think that matchup knowledge is going to be a big decider here.
I firmly agree with that, yeah.
I'm going to date myself a little bit, and I remember in the early days of Remiliss, especially in testing, it was Irradiate and its transform launch sequence that everyone thought was the scary thing to prevent. And then, as we've learned, adding +1 range to things is probably the best thing.
It's
so
really good.
Radiation became the transform to play around, and thus Toxic Tendrils the card.
Mm-hmm.
So it'll be interesting to see if Ken goes for some higher speed options, some critical Shoryukens if they smell the Toxic Tendrils is coming.
Mm-hmm. Depending on the starting range. Now, the conservative play for Remiliss, at least if you play a very set play-oriented Remiliss, is you just never miss with Toxic Tendrils, meaning you never play it in a situation where it's even remotely possible that it loses. You either play both copies to transform from hand, or you set it up with a light boost and then EX it.
Mm-hmm.
But regardless, never risking that transformation is a fairly common theme among high-level Remiliss play. That said, playing it at the moment when your opponent least expects it, when it's horribly unsafe, and there's no reason for them to defend against it, has its own advantages.
It is a very powerful dive effect that you can get at range 1 or 2, which are never to be overlooked.
Indeed. Let's see. Ken does not have above curve ranged options, does he? He's reliant on EXing or on using his boosts to become above curve. That's important.
Mm-hmm. I think we're going to also see a lot of mileage out of True Master. Maybe less out of Rushdown style, but True Master definitely seems like something to threaten.
Mm-hmm. Definitely, yeah. As a Street Fighter character, Ken naturally has a kit full of boosts, meaning he tends to be able to present and maintain serious threats more easily than some of the cross characters who do not have as many boosts in their kits because they have to make room for transformations. In other words, Ken has better neutral. Remiliss's character ability gives her a notable advantage in escaping or applying pressure, but it's very resource intensive, so she can't maintain it for very long periods of time. That makes it less versatile as a neutral tool. So Remiliss up first. Looking at that hand. Type cards always feels a little small for a Remiliss hand. She needs every scrap of force she can get.
Those 5 cards can have a lot of extra force, particularly spending that Consumption Ultra.
That's true.
A situational choice with a situational but very powerful boost.
Mm-hmm. Oh yes, Aftershock.
It's also 2 force in 1 card, which can sometimes, when your opponent thinks you don't have the resources to EX, you can make that happen.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, don't underestimate the importance of this card being worth 2 force. That doesn't sound very special because everybody has ultras that are worth 2 force, but on a character as force hungry as Remiliss with pretty poor economy, you'll need it. Turn 1 parry from Remiliss. What is the call here? Maybe a cross?
I mean, maybe cross, maybe Gurren Senpikaku to turn True Master off.
That makes sense.
I don't think Hadouken's the...
They seem to be having some slight connection issues with the voice, so... Sweet.
Very sweet.
Interesting.
See, I feel like that's more of a, I want to see your hand, and if I happen to get a sweep, I'm not too chuffed about it.
Mm-hmm.
Oh my.
Okay.
Oh my.
That is a spicy hand. That is 4 specials in Ultra and Spike. Pretty good.
Seeing the Hadoken and that knee bash, I know if I were playing Ken at this point, I would toss that spike in the garbage, slam that True Master to the table, and say go.
I would absolutely do the same thing. Let's see. Remiliss does not really have an answer to True Master Hadoken. Yeah. This is generally... So if you're going to parry to see the opponent's hand, or in general if you're going to parry just blindly, like, you want to parry the highest value option they could potentially have. In this case, I personally think it would have been True Master. Sorry, Guren Senpukyaku. But the reason that it's high value is because of that boost. Ken strikes? Remiliss wild swings.
Are they considering making it an EX wild swing?
Perhaps so. Which, I mean, fair. If you've got no tendrils, dives, or radiates in hands, or even nuclear options, then yeah, EX wild swing is pretty fair.
This feels like it's EX or radiate now.
Alright, we have a signal that this Remiliss is not extremely experienced because those were placed in the discard in the suboptimal order. That is EX tendrils to stuff the Hadoken, though. I think this is a sign that Ken did not know the matchup because he played right into that.
That is a brutal start.
That's 5 damage to Ken, and Remiliss will get one of the best transformations in the whole bloody game. 5 damage. Right, so. Alright. Well, I think Ken's only option is to lean on to Remiliss's poor resource generation and just try to pressure her as much as he can.
That was, again, a costly turn.
Yeah, this is hard to recover from. I don't know. I would have put True Master into play last turn. Is it too late to get it into play this turn?
I mean, it's not terrible. Whoa.
That's a Burning Passion. Plus 1 speed, draw a card, makes sense. This is fine. And yeah, that's a good point, Mix. 1 dive is down on Remiliss's side, so there's 1 fewer tech in the game, meaning one of those True Masters is not going to get teched.
Yeah, I feel like I would have slammed it. 6 power on 6 hour 6 speed on X kick before crit. Still pretty good.
7 power. Printed power is 5.
Oh goodness, that's a card.
Yep. Remember when I used to have a guard? Why not, right?
I mean, I could see a very rewarding boost chain here. Discards at ground 0.
To retreat? Retreating is fair, but this is Ken we're talking about. He can just close in without spending any resources. He strikes with 1 card. What is this telegraph even? Spike, dive, assault.
Spike 4 or...
Spike was known.
Knee bash for no reason?
It's Spike. It destroys the second ground 0. Alright. Sure. We take those.
This is going to be a game where I think neither of us understand what's happening.
Yes, it is going to be one of those, and it'll be hilarious. Alright, here we go. So yes, Ken's back in the game, got 5 damage on board, and knocked out both copies of Ground Zero, which is Remiliss's huge range 1 explosion, for those not familiar. EX Ground Zero does 8 damage at range 1 at speed 4, with 1 armor and 6 guard, making it practically unstunnable, practically inescapable, and, well, practically...
And more importantly, with both copies of Ground Zero down, the only thing that Ken truly fears at range 1 is trading with Napalm Stream, which is a expensive option to limit the bleeding.
Actually, he can even beat that with Tatsu. Like, Tatsumaki Senpukyaku is a threat which covers, on offense at least, Napalm Stream and nuclear option. So he can just kind of laugh in her face by holding that threat over her and occasionally playing it. trading with Napalm Stream is also pretty fine. Alright, well, they both have large hands. They're at range 2, which is Kin's favored range. He has 1 gauge, which is important because he can threaten to critical anything he wants. Notably Axe Kick. Remiliss has a lot of force available, though. Both her ground zeros are down, as well as 1 copy of Toxic Tendrils, but we haven't seen any Irradiates yet. Might we see a range 2 Irradiates?
Ken has Axe Kick and a gauge.
Yeah, that's fair.
Range 2 Irradiate would be...
It'd be pretty cheeky.
That would be... I would say it's beyond cheeky. It would be... foreheady. Metaphor escaped from me there, but I just...
it would be insane then. It would be insane.
Yeah, the risk of losing that card...
Oh!
You gotta read. But the only known normal is with Spike, which is used.
Yes, this is...
The rest of that hand was specials.
Right. And Kin has drawn, I believe, 3 more cards since then. Or 4 more cards since then, however. So, you know, it's fair.
Maybe we're gonna see that. Maybe we're gonna see a reading grasp, and we're gonna see that range 2 Radiate after all.
Yeah, I believe Axe Kick, Knee Bash, and Gurren Senpukyaku are the 3 known cards in Kin's hands. And then there are 4 unknown cards. So, reading something, and we'll find out momentarily what happens next. She may also want to EX her attack. That is Remiliss's choice. Well, that was the timer. Now they have to finish setting their attacks. I'm kidding.
I would hope so. I'll need a chime on the board for that. We're seeing a...
Reconsider that decision. Remiliss a little hesitant to commit to this play.
Alright, we're seeing a card hit the table. No EX. And assumably a card has been named.
Yep. Ken making his choice carefully. Sometimes there is no choice. Sometimes the choice is to EX. Sometimes the choice is what do I play because it didn't work.
Reading focus.
Wait, what?
Oh.
Reading focus. Well, it's a success, so that'll be a... Yeah, that's a spike. Yep. 5 free damage on Ken. We take those.
We certainly do. This is going to be the bloodbath that we anticipated.
Yes.
Yeah.
Not in the way I anticipated, but... Back and forth they go. 5 damage at a time. 6 or 7 strikes. The game's over. Oh. Now his reading. So he had the EX focus and decided not to play it. It's a whiff. It's a critical. It's a...
Oh my goodness. That's a hand of cards.
It sure is. So this telegraphs the Axe Kick pretty hard. Now, she can trade with that with sweep, or she could play EX nuclear option and trade with that at real value. Yeah, chances are he names, block or spike, I guess, but... Or grasp.
EX nuclear option feels pretty rough here.
Grasp is not safe. Grasp is not safe, never mind. Wait, 1 card?
1 card?
Wait, assault? Wait, what? What?
Okay. Crit Axe Kick will definitely make a fool of that.
Yes. Calling out the bluff, I guess.
Maybe they thought it was a bluffed Tatsu.
Could be.
Some kind.
Tatsu or Spike. I mean, honestly, Critical Spike is a well-known play in the Street Fighter meta, so can't assume that it's not that. Alright, well, Remiliss's turn to do something crazy and deal 5 damage, I guess.
So,
long as we're taking turns.
non-EX Napalm Stream with hit and discard, somehow not getting stunned. Maybe into a Shoryuken? Or a Knee Bash? No, Knee Bash is 5 power.
Yeah. What's the strangest way this could happen? Can Wild Swings get the spike into Napalm Stream? Yeah, I think that's probably the craziest thing that could happen. Or plays it from hand, actually. That would be even crazier.
Well, that hand is still known. That is
Yep.
perfectly reasonable.
This makes sense. You have access to EX Nuclear Option, EX Spike, and a third card that's not known. And an After Effect. Gets
And,
teched. That's fine.
well,
You've got another copy. Does she play the other
but
copy?
a good use of dive. I mean, even though it is worth noting that those nuclear options are never gone for good, the boost on Caustic Vent Reclamation
Mm-hmm.
does allow Remiliss to trade that card for something in her discards, making those nuclear options awfully sticky.
Quite right. That said, it still slows her down. Remiliss, like a turn that Remiliss spins trying to reclaim something from her discard pile is a turn she's not spinning doing something else. So don't mistake that to mean that it's not worth doing.
Agreed. It's just not a
Yeah, there's the
permanent
other
solution. There's the second nuclear option.
one. Mm-hmm.
I feel like simply turning back and saying True Master here feels like a
Hey. Wait,
there it is. Force
that's-
cost. He cannot spend that card because he just drew it.
Yep.
All right. It is
Mm-hmm.
now. This is definitely a bit of a meta bit of thinking, but he just drew a Tatsu,
Mm-hmm.
and I believe he had a Tatsu in hand.
No, he did not. He had a knee bash in hands. And one unknown card.
Because EX Tatsu with True Master up is devastating.
That
on
would
this
be
board.
pretty great. Loses Grasp, and that's about it. Well, in this case, Grasp EX Cross, because everything's EX.
Um,
So...
in this, though, to be fair, in this board state, I feel it is. If I'm not going to boost it right now, I might just play Crit and Evash and say, let's trade 7 for whatever you want.
Oh boy. Yeah, I guess with Ground Zero down, that's pretty safe. The only thing that beats Crit and Bash is what? Toxic Tendrils, right?
Which would be pretty cheeky range 1 option.
Yeah. Especially with True Master up.
So if he reads that that's the sweep, which is the safe play, plays the Tatsu, this is a brutal crush.
Yes. For those watching, please take note. Shuffle your hands occasionally. Like, so that your opponent can't track which card in your hand is which. Ken will get hit. He deals 5 damage minus 1 armor is 4. So Remy will go to 16 life.
And then we'll take a big chunk back.
Yep. Hits back for 7.
Well, you asked for non-5 life total. We have it. And a card, more importantly. If that's the knee bash, Ken isn't. Ooh,
It's the knee
shit.
bash. And we illegally know that the other card is Tatsu, right?
Mm-hmm.
That's pretty awkward. Looks like Rumi is deciding whether or not to use that After Effects. Probably going to use it. Yep.
Returns the nuclear option to hand.
Yep.
I don't think we see a universe in which Ken action is not the choice here.
I agree with that assessment. Range
Then
4...
again, we've been very wrong in this game so far.
That's true. So, okay, alright. No, he did it. I was about to try to guess the different action, like maybe a CC2 from Gage. But this worked out. So the thing is, at range 4, Ken doesn't have a lot going on for him, right? But at range 4, with Radiation in play, Remiliss is basically at range 3. So she has a lot more options.
Mm-hmm.
Moving closer makes the range for Remiliss basically 2, which really only adds Napalm Stream and Cross to the mix. And honestly, getting hit by Cross is not all that big a deal. Like, sure, it's bad, but it's 4 damage. And Napalm Stream is beatable. So, range 3 is considerably better than range 4 at this state.
Oh.
Initiate launch and play again. Ken keeps moving
Another
closer.
Ken action.
Yeah, it makes him vulnerable to grasp now. And I believe, yes, he has used both focuses. Both foci. Napalm's down. Is Napalm down? I don't remember Napalm being down. I don't remember any copies of Napalm dropping. I could be completely wrong then.
Ground 0 is down.
Ground 0 is 100% down.
I mean, that definitely would influence me to want to be at range 1 against Remiliss, is knowing that ground 0 is not an option to blowing up for 8.
Yep, that makes sense.
Strike from hand. Not a lot of great choices here.
Yeah, to be fair, Mix, Napalm is one of her big blowout options as Yellow Death. It's just not the one that dropped. Ground 0 is the one that dropped. Irradiate and Napalm Stream can both be 10 damage hits in Exceed mode, but Ground 0 is the one that can hit for 14. Alright, so Remiliss strikes. This is EX and she has radiation in play, which means this could be literally anything. Every single card hits except for block. It is the Grasp.
Ah, it is the Grasp.
Yep, that'll pop out his cross, dealing 4 damage.
And he is out of crosses.
Moves him farther away. Hard telegraphing that she has an Irradiate in the works, or that she wants to play that EX nuclear option.
Or just wants the time to boost nuclear option again, and isn't afraid of anything else.
That's fair.
Ken
action? Yep, there's the boost again. Okay, there it is. Alright, so now if Remiliss wants to use her ability, she'll have to make actual resource decisions, which could be difficult. Or she could reshuffle here and just get those cards back. Or she could boost and get those cards back.
There's the cross event.
Yeah.
I don't believe there's a parry left either.
I only remember one parry dropping on Ken's side. I could be mistaken, however.
He's going to make something happen, and something big soon. If I had another True Master here, I would probably hit it.
Yep. Oh, well, there it is. Yeah, I think that first True Master trading down was particularly bad.
That was definitely oh.
There's the tech. Yep.
Instant tech. Yeah.
As is pretty much correct. But yeah, like not winning that strike cleanly cost him a lot of momentum. So it's back to Ken's turn to decide what to do now that all of his True Masters are down. Probably reshuffle. Like, those boosts are a big enough deal in this matchup in particular that I think it's worth reshuffling at this stage, even though he's still got 10 cards left in deck.
I mean, he's used a bunch of, or lost a bunch of very valuable resources. He does still have one Axe Kick engage, but I feel like I want to save up for that game-closing Shinryuken, if that's ever an option.
Yeah.
But with 9 life to go, this is not...
Yeah, you really don't want to be at a life deficit against Remiliss. Napalm Stream can often mean that you just don't get a chance to come back. Striking from range 3, huh? Well, crossing out is extremely safe here. I think there is a Hadouken left, but I think that's the only thing that's left. That, yeah, that threatens the cross. Remiliss considering her response. Notably, Ken did not critical. Is it just an assault? It can be an assault. This is basically the assault spike mix-up. Assault spike dive. I'm unsure what all he has remaining, but I believe he has at least 2 of those 3.
Now, is there a universe here in which EX from hand and play the nuclear option?
The universe exists. It's not the one that I would travel to. I think I would sooner play an EX from the top of my deck. And I actually wouldn't feel too bad doing that, depending on what I've got in hand. Like, block and grasp are the only things that really cause problems there.
We have single card.
Could this be the
Maybe they're
legendary
playing
single
regular
card nuclear option?
reading
Oh,
assault.
wait, no. We have an expenditure. 3
So
gauge. Or 3 force, rather.
So it's EX from hand.
It is the
Knee bash.
cross. And that was a non-crit knee bash, so that is not going to catch up. Actually, I don't think it would anyway, because they are starting at range 3.
So that is another 4 damage.
Yep.
And he retreats, and things are looking pretty rough.
Yep, and he did not critical, so he does not close to, but yeah, it looks like even if he did, he would have missed.
Mm-hmm.
Alright. That'll get Remiliss that gauge. And make it her turn, because that was a defensive cross. Preps?
I mean, that was a nearly universally safe option, so...
Mm-hmm. Yeah, the cross was definitely correct.
So this is, again, another one of those situations which shows just how much the Toxic Tendrils transform can warp things.
Mm-hmm.
In a...
Wait,
in
what?
a certain...
Too far. Cool.
In a certain universe at range 6, Hadouken is safe. You couldn't even irradiate. However, with that extra range on the transformation...
It doesn't help her.
Is it only 2 to 4? 2 to 5. Well, yes, it would still lose to crit Hadouken.
Yes,
But,
if he initiates, because he or she would get stunned. So yeah, if he had the crit Hadouken, then standing at range 6, and actually, even if he didn't have it, stepping forward is probably a mistake. He should have just prepped and kept range. Sooner or later, she will draw that irradiates and or EX radiates, and throw something at him that he can't really do much about. You could go out in a blaze of plasma. Alright, Remiliss initiates. Does appear to be EXing.
2 and 3.
Mm-hmm.
So that is...
If
could
it
just be dive.
could be dive. If it is EX Radiate, then yes, this is threatening lethal. EX Radiate does 6 damage. At least at range 4 or greater. Is this the block? It is the block, it is the EX Radiate, so that is 6 power coming in. Oh yeah, dives are down because both yeah, there are 2 techs.
Or used to tech, that's correct.
One was tech and one was spent force in the first EX tech. Alright, he is spending force for armor. Currently he's taking 2 damage. Probably going to prevent all of it. Yep.
I'd be hard pressed to find a card in there that's worth my very precious life points now.
Mm-hmm. Alright, Ken's turn. The sooner he can draw Hadouken and try to abuse it, the better. It is one of his main remaining options. So this is almost certainly critical Hadouken. He is now standing close enough that it's not necessarily safe. If she flips Tendrils, it is automatically EX, and it will outspeed and stun him, and also kill him.
But otherwise, it's not an unreasonable option. Both nuclear are gone.
Mm-hmm. And she's very low on
both-
resources, so she can't EX anything at will.
On swing.
Invalid. Huh. Well, that
Napalm swing.
mitigates.
That's true.
Yep.
Caps at 5, is still stunned.
Yes, so she will take 5 damage and be stunned. Ken chooses to loop Zadok.
I mean,
Technically incorrect, but it's not going to matter. Technically, the block was on the top of Ken's discard pile. The life does matter, however. Remiliss should be at 11.
here's they are discussing. And that 1 life is actually going to make a big deal. Well, I guess if crit Hadokens come through, it won't matter. Oh, that's the wrong direction.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
So Remiliss has 1 card in hand, no force. This Hadoken could do work.
Yep, she needs to prepare at least once. She can take 1 hit before she has to respond. Let's see, how many cards are in that deck? Oh, shoot.
Oh, that's heartbreaking. And so, you want to hear the terrifying thing.
What's that?
Well, no. Actually, if he keeps throwing crit Hadokens, it won't be the case. But I do believe neither Shinryuken has been seen.
I think you're right. I really do.
So there is a universe in which he gets that 4th gauge. And
Oh, he's back.
in excellent time.
Thank goodness. I don't see the 4th gauge happening. I see another crit Hado happening, like, basically guaranteed. It's kind of a Hail Mary. Like, it's kind of a Hail Mary, but he kind of has to do it. He has to just hope that she doesn't draw the tendril. What?
Maybe that's the tendrils? But then why
No,
would you say that
irradiate.
Oh. It can't be the other radiate, can it?
Why not?
Oh.
Yep, that's game.
Yep, speed 4 beats speed 4.
That'll do it. GG. And the set goes to Chykka. With Remiliss and Chun-Li over... Remiliss and Chun-Li over Kin and Ken. And then Polar Knight took a loss against Seijun. I will update the screen. Alright, thank you very much for joining me, Matt.
No problem. Have a lovely evening, and it's a pleasure as always commenting with you. And it is the perfect explanation. You wouldn't have played the you wouldn't have played that on offense or on defense because it would have lost, but on offense it wins.
Indeed, makes perfect sense. Alright, well, thank you everybody for coming to the stream, and hope you enjoy watching more Matchup Madness matches here and around the internets as the tourney continues. See you later. Bye.